flowing, roots run free, sunlight shining endlessly. Every channel, every seed, hydroponics gives what plants need. Growing together, steady and true, sharing knowledge, guiding you through. Balance of water, oxygen, light. The future is growing healthy and bright.
Hydroponics is not just about growing lettuce or tomatoes. It's about unlocking the true potential of plants in the 21st century. From food crops, herbs and flowers, to superfoods, medicines, biofuels, and even clean electricity. Hydroponics is shaping the future of agriculture and beyond. Over the past 15 years, I've done some serious research into hydroponics and explored what can truly be grown. I've carried out all kinds of interesting experiments, testing boundaries, challenging assumptions, and opening new doors of possibility. In this series, I want to share some of those results with you and inspire you to see just how wide the horizon of hydroponics really is. In this episode, we will take a closer look at what can be grown with hydroponics and discover the wide variety of crops and products that are already changing industries across the world. We will also explore the main categories of hydroponics and see how they are applied in practice. Then we'll dive into medium-based hydroponics, why it matters, how it works, and what some of the most common growing mediums are that make this possible. This is where hydroponics starts, to move from theory into practical application. And you'll begin to see how to match the right system with the right crop for success. I'm Wynand Besuidenhout, owner of Grow Machines and inventor of the Hallelujah system. And welcome to this episode of the Basics of 21st Century Hydroponics course. When you hear the word hydroponics, maybe you imagine rows of lettuce or a few tomatoes hanging on a vine. And yes, those are some of the most common crops grown with hydroponics. But the truth is, that's only the tip of the iceberg. Hydroponics is not just farming. It's a revolution in how we use plants. Yes, we can grow veggies that end up on our plates every day. We can grow herbs that spice up our kitchens and heal our bodies. And we can grow flowers that bring color, beauty, and value into our lives. But here's where it gets really interesting. Did you know we can also grow animal fodder in a matter of days? Lush green feed that keep livestock alive during drought. Imagine a farmer who once depended on rain, now producing feed all year round from a single hydroponic system. Now, I must be honest, hydroponic fodder is not a miracle food. It mostly increases the moisture content of the seed, and the protein level remains similar to what it was already in the grain. The real benefit is that it improves digestibility, so animals get more out of the same seed. But through my own research and experiments, I have taken this one step further. into what I call hydroponic green feed. Instead of stopping at germinated grasses, I extended the growth cycle until the plants started proper photosynthesis. That's the point where they begin creating new proteins, minerals, and sugars. The result? Green feed that performs up to 4 times better than standard fodder, creating a much more nutritious, protein-rich feed. This is a true game changer for animal health, growth rates, and food security. And the possibilities don't stop there. Hydroponics can produce biofuels from algae, literally turning sunlight and water into clean energy. Imagine fueling vehicles and industries with crops grown in tanks instead of oil wells. And there's moss voltaics, living plants that generate electricity. Picture a moss table in your living room that not only looks beautiful but charges your phone at the same time. That's not science fiction, it's already happening. We can grow superfoods like spirulina or moringa, nutrient-dense foods that could fight malnutrition across the world. We can also cultivate crops for medicines and nutraceuticals like marijuana and poppies, not one of my favorites, but we can do it. Or stevia for natural sweeteners to replace sugar in a world plagued with diabetes and obesity. And don't forget aquaculture. Hydroponics even helps produce fish food, closing the loop between plants, animals, and people. So, when we talk about hydroponics, don't think of it as just a clever way of growing vegetables. Think of it as a universal platform, one that can feed families, heal the sick, power our homes, and even create entire new industries. This is why I have dedicated over 15 years of research and experiments into hydroponics. Because the real question is not what can we grow with hydroponics, but rather what can't we grow with hydroponics. In hydroponics, we can broadly divide systems into two main categories. The first is medium-based hydroponics, where plants are grown in supporting material such as clay pebbles, perlite, cocoa peat, and rock wool. The medium doesn't feed the plant, it simply anchors the roots and helps hold water and nutrients. The second is medium-free hydroponics, where the roots are completely exposed to the nutrient solution. This includes systems like nutrient film technique, also known as NFT, deep water culture, or aeroponics, where the roots are either suspended in water or misted with nutrients. Both categories have their own strengths, and the choice depends on your crop, your climate, and your management style. This is where I started. My very first commercial hydroponic production. And wow, did I learn a lot about mediums, their pros, and especially their cons. In this case, we made our own medium, a compost and soil mix. And oh, what a mistake. What a mistake. At first, the plants grew well. We added nutrient solution through drip lines and everything seemed fine. But after about 3 months, the real problem started. We had solution wastage, cutworms, heat stress, wilting tomato plants, apple rust mites, salt concentrations building up in the bags, poor spacing. It felt like I had ticked every single mistake in the book. And the work was hard. Filling all those bags and later cleaning them out was just a mission. And then came another nightmare. The medium itself started rotting. You could smell it. When I thought about reusing it for the next cycle, I simply couldn't. The bags were full of concentrated salts, rotten biomaterial, pests, and spores, just waiting to attack the next crop. Yes, I did produce good quality tomatoes, but it was far from sustainable, and I knew I couldn't keep repeating this cycle of problems. That experience and the next cycle that followed was exactly what pushed me to search for a smarter, cleaner, and more efficient way of growing. And that journey eventually led me to the development of the medium-free Hallelujah system. A system designed to eliminate these very problems and take hydroponics to the next level. Now, almost any kind of medium can be used in hydroponics, but every medium comes with its own pros and cons. Here's an example. In this case, hay bales were used as the medium to grow tomatoes. At first glance, it looks clever and cost effective, but let's break it down. Today, a hay bale costs nearly 240 Rand. That works out to around 60 Rand to 80 Rand per tomato plant, depending on spacing, just for the medium. That's already a huge input cost. And then the real problems begin. The bales eventually start to rot, the salts build up inside them, they get contaminated with nutrients, and even though you're feeding the plants, you're also losing a lot of valuable nutrient solution in the medium itself. At the end of the cycle, you've not only wasted money on the bales, but also lost part of your investment in nutrients. And of course, just like other organic mediums, you can only use them once. By the time the crop is finished, you're left with heavy, rotting, contaminated mass that has to be thrown out. So, yes, it's possible to grow this way. But in the bigger picture, it's neither cost effective nor sustainable. Just like with SpaceX rockets, reusability is what will change the game and make systems truly feasible. And of course, the first prize would be not to use mediums at all. Here we've got a summary of the most common mediums used in hydroponics. Now, I'm not going to read through this like a shopping list. Instead, let's highlight the important pros and cons of each so you can get a practical picture of what really works. Rockwool, fantastic water retention, very stable and sterile, but it's not biodegradable. It can cause skin irritation, and disposal is a real headache. Expanded clay or leca, one of my favorites because it's reusable and gives great drainage. The downside is it dries out quickly and becomes heavier for larger systems. Coco coir, a renewable resource and very eco-friendly. It supports beneficial microbes and has good water retention, but it often comes with salts that need pre-treatment and it breaks down over time. Stone and gravel, cheap and easy to find, inert and stable. The problem is it's heavy, has poor water retention, and you'll need constant irrigation. Wood shavings, readily available and biodegradable, but they decompose fast, can shift your pH, and may carry pathogens. Cocoa chips, like cocoa coir but chunkier, they last longer, hold water well, and allow good airflow, but again, they can contain salts, break down over time, and need pre-treatment. Vermiculite, higher water retention, and good cation exchange. It's lightweight too, but it can hold too much water and cause root rot if you're not careful. Perlite, very light and excellent for aeration. The issue is it has almost no water retention, it dries out quickly, and the dust can be a health hazard. Cocoa fiber, similar to coir, very eco-friendly, lightweight and good for microbial activity, but it breaks down even faster, and again salts are an issue. So, what's the big lesson here? Every medium has strengths, but every single one also comes with weaknesses, whether it's cost, sustainability, or performance. And here's the part most growers forget. All mediums cost money. When you add up the purchase price, the transport, the labor to deploy them, and then the labor to clean up and dispose of them, it becomes a significant hidden cost. In most cases, we never account for it. But take note, because it can eat into your profitability much faster than you realize. One of the big challenges with mediums is reusability. Not all mediums can be used again, and the ones that can need to be thoroughly washed and sterilized. That means more labor and more cost. Organic mediums are especially risky. As they break down, they lose their structure, clog up systems, and create a perfect environment for pathogens, mold, and pests. And even if you manage to wash them, the problem doesn't end there. The medium often holds onto excess nutrients and salts. This imbalance can turn toxic, and washing only moves the problem into the wastewater, which creates another environmental issue. So, yes, reusing mediums sounds good in theory, but in practice, it comes with serious complications. To summarize this session on mediums, we've seen that while many different mediums can be used in hydroponics, every one of them comes with costs and challenges, whether it's purchase, transport, labor, disposal, or system inefficiency. Some mediums work well in the short term, but most of them eventually break down, build up salts, and create reusability and environmental issues. The key takeaway is this: mediums can help you grow, but they're never free. They carry hidden costs and risks that you must account for if you want a sustainable system. In our next episode, we'll continue with the topic of mediums, but we'll shift focus to mediums for seedlings. I'll show you a simple, practical way of producing your own seedlings that are perfectly suited for medium-free hydroponic systems. Thank you for joining me in this episode. I'm Wynand Besaidnout, owner of Grow Machines and inventor of the Hallelujah system. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode, and remember, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next part of the course.